So guys, obviously we do have an update regarding Colton Haab. I will put a link to the original video from yesterday at the end of this video. So if you haven't seen that, skip to the end, check that video out, then come back to this one. Because this is going to be a repeat or a follow-on from that. But the basic skinny version is that a school shooting survivor from Florida, that Florida shooting, was invited to CNN Town Hall. They asked him to go through and give a question. They didn't like, or whatever it may be, the question that he was going to ask, so they gave him a scripted question. Now, CNN has denied this, which is obviously what we're talking about here. They explicitly said they never gave out any questions, but more information has come out regarding this, and CNN's credibility is looking less and less as more information comes out, because we actually have other people also verifying similar sort of situation. So we'll go through, we'll talk about this, we'll talk about the other situation that CNN has now also been accused of, and we'll basically give you both sides of the coin. Let me know what your thoughts are in that comment section below at the end of this video. CNN's Drew Griffin explicitly accused a school shooting survivor, Colton Haab, of lying over the student's claim that CNN wrote a question for him to recite at the far-left network's widely criticised anti-gun town hall. Which is weird, because I thought we weren't supposed to be criticising the children of the shooting school survivor. Isn't that what this article is leaning towards? That these kids shouldn't be criticised? Oh, so it's only when these kids push your agenda we're not allowed to criticise them. Right, gotcha. On Thursday evening, President Trump tweeted out criticism of CNN's ongoing fake news crisis with a quote from Fox News' Colton Tucker, who interviewed Haab Thursday night. So at the end of the day, obviously he's watching Fox News. Quote, school shooting survivor says he quit CNN Town Hall after refusing scripted question. Colton Tucker, Trump retweeted, adding, just like so much of CNN fake news, that's why their ratings are so bad. MSNBC may be worse. I'm sorry, but I love the fact that the President of the United States of America shitposts on Twitter. I think it's insane, but insane in a good way, but let's keep going. A little over an hour later, the left-wing Griffin blasted Haab with the accusations that young survivor at the JROTC member, who has also been hailed as a hero for helping to move his fellow students to safety during the mass shooting, is lying. As for that, guys, what we're talking about there is reportedly he actually went out, grabbed some kids that were outside in the hallway, brought them into the classroom from memory, locked the door, put them at the back of the classroom, and then put Kevlar vests in front of them so that they would be actually protected. So like I said, this kid is a friggin' hero. Probably should get a medal. But yeah, let's keep going. Quote, this is a lie repeated over and over again, Griffin tweeted, and yet a lie. Fact matters. Facts matter. We'll get to that, don't worry. Griffin already made news this week for a special investigation unit report where he ambushed an innocent Trump supporter at her home. Also, I'll put a link to that at the end of the video. A Florida woman who might have accidentally shared a Russian-correlated event on her Facebook page. Griffin confronted the woman for her unwilling crimes against Hillary Clinton, putting her face on camera, broadcasting her name, including her Facebook display name and profile picture, and even her house number. And yeah, that's one thing I didn't actually get to touch on when we actually made this video. I was a little bit worried about them going through and basically doxing this girl, this old lady. You know, they're basically saying, hey, here's a Trump supporter, and anybody that has spare free time, the internet, can find that address. So at the end of the day, yeah, I was a little concerned about them actually doing that. They'd made no real attempts, from what I saw, to actually hide her address. Griffin's ambush resulted in the woman being personally abused and threatened by CNN viewers. Whoa, I didn't even hear about that. Even a number of prominent voices on the left declared Griffin's behavior vile and despicable. CNN has yet to answer for its own roles in wildly publicizing a Russian-coordinated event. Not just CNN, it was also MSNBC and also Michael Moore. I've also covered that video. I ran out of links. For his part, Haab stands by his claim that CNN's anti-gun town hall was rigged with questions scripted by the anti-gun cable channel. Haab says he wanted to ask questions about school security. They had taken what I wrote and what I briefed on and talked about, and they actually wrote the question for me. At that point, Haab chose to drop out of the Jake Tapper hosted event, which critics have described as an anti-gun show trial, which it basically was. Tapper is facing widespread criticism for his mishandling of one side event and has yet to apologize for his silence, and his audience booed a rape survivor. Was that the NRA lady? I didn't hear about that. I haven't watched the whole town hall thing. I just couldn't. It was painful. So I just, yeah. Before becoming CNN's middle-day anti-Trump pundit, Tapper, a former Democratic operative and Salon contributor, worked for Handgun Control Incorporated, which is now the Bradley Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence and a well-known anti-gun advocacy group. There's a shock for you. Haab's accusation against CNN echoes previous scandals where the network has been caught using left-wing plants on numerous occasions. CNN is currently embroiled in a credibility crisis due to multiple fake news reports, some of which have resulted in significant backlash, forcing the network to retract. Last week, the prenatal last place network's primetime ratings plummeted 27% when compared to the same last year, far more than first place Fox News due to its failures on the digital end. CNN is laying off dozens of staffers. Obviously, guys, this is Breitbart, so it is going to be right-wing. They are obviously going to have a bias against CNN. But this is where it gets interesting. CNN student who quit town hall wanted to make a speech, not a question. Really? Because I thought you didn't actually change what he was going to say, right? That's what you said yesterday. Well, now it's actually interesting because, first part of this obviously is just going through and just basically explaining the situation, which we've already done. No real big difference there. Now, this is their statement that the CNN have actually made. There is absolutely no truth to this. CNN did not provide or script questions for anyone in last night's town hall, nor have we ever. After seeing the interview with Colton Haab, we invited him to participate to our town hall, along with our other students and administrators from Majority Stoneman Douglas High School. Colton's father withdrew his name from participation before the forum began, which we regretted but respected. We welcome Colton to join us on CNN today and discuss his views on school safety. Now, that's what we heard yesterday. However, here's the other part that we've actually got from a CNN public relations manager, Richard Huddock, who released more of his existing statement. According to CNN Insider, Haab wanted to give an extensive speech and not just ask a question, something the network said the forum was not designed for. When the family was told that they decided to pull out of the event, the CNNer also noted that subject Haab wanted to address arming teachers was discussed at length in a 2-hour-long hall. Now, the interesting thing here is that they're admitting that he wanted to give an extensive speech. That's kind of implying that he wanted to give a speech and that's not what they wanted to do, which is what he's originally said. He originally said that they went through, he wanted to give a speech and ask questions, and then they changed it because that's not what they wanted, and then they gave out the scripted questions. So they're sort of backing up what he's already saying originally, the first part of it. They're just not admitting to the we gave out scripted questions. Now, if you want to hear it in his own words, we actually have the interview that he actually gave Carlson Tucker last night. So we'll play that for you now, and then we'll get into the rest of this.
Colton Haab joins us tonight. Colton, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me. And before we get into anything, I just want to make sure that everybody hasn't forgotten why we are actually here tonight. I mean, we lost 17 lives last week, and
yes,
I actually physically put 2 to rest. And to me, that was the hardest thing in the world to endure. I mean, nobody should have to go through this. So as long as we're taking the right steps to move forward from this and make sure that this doesn't happen again, I'm all for that.
Well, we certainly haven't forgotten. Thank you for reminding us yet again. And we think that the only way to make the country better and maybe put a dent in this scourge is to have a rational, thoughtful conversation about what to do next. And with that in mind,
Absolutely.
You were planning to go to this event last night. And tell me if I'm mischaracterizing any of this. And you sent in, at the request of a CNN producer, you sent in a number of questions, statements you wanted to make, questions that you wanted to ask of the politicians on the stage. And they rewrote one of your questions? Is that right?
Yes, sir. So what had happened was 4 days ago, I had gotten contacted by a lady named Carrie Stevenson from CNN. She had asked me originally to just write a speech. It was going to be at the town hall at the BB&T Center. So I agreed. I felt like it would be the right thing to do, be able to go speak my part, as well as open eyes to a few things that I thought that could make this situation a little better. From there, 3 days ago, so the next day after that, we had gotten, I got an email back from her, and she asked for more of questions rather than a speech, which I was totally fine with. So I wrote a little less of a speech and more of questions that I wanted to ask at the town hall. The day after that, it was more of just questions. She asked for just questions that I would like to ask. So I gave her my questions, and then yesterday at about 5:15, I made contact with her, and she had asked if I just asked her one question. So what they had actually done was wrote out a question for me, because in my interview with CNN, I had talked about arming the teachers if they were willing to arm themselves in the school to carry on campus. And they had, she had taken that of what I had briefed on and actually wrote that question out for me. So I have that question here if you'd like me to ask it for you.
Well, but I just want to make sure I have this straight. So you sent them a long, in effect, essay on what you thought, but they put
Yes,
their
sir.
own words in the question, and they weren't the same as the words you had sent in? They were the producer's words?
Absolutely. They had taken what I had wrote and what I had briefed on and talked about, and they actually wrote the question for me.
But not with your words. I mean, they put their own words into your question, even after they'd asked you to send questions in. But that seems dishonest.
It definitely did, and that's kind of why I didn't go last night. Originally, I had thought that it was going to be more of my own question and my own say, and then it turned out to be more of just a script. And she had actually said that over the phone, that I needed to stick to the script.
That's remarkable. What did you watch last night?
I watched a little bit of it. I kind of felt like I didn't really need to, because I knew that as soon as what had happened with me, that it was going to be more scripted and wasn't actually going to be actual questions. Then I didn't feel the need to fully watch it.
So if CNN was willing to reword your question, put their own words in your mouth, and as you said, you didn't want to go along with that, do you think they did that to other people last night?
I mean, absolutely. From what I did see, I'd seen a couple people that had asked questions before I did leave my house. And it was a little piece of paper cut out. And I know for a fact that nobody cut their own paper out and wrote their own question, especially when they were all based off the same topic. So to me, from right there, it showed that this isn't correct. Why are they all have the same size piece of paper with a short little question on it? So to
I guess
me, it was a total
what's
waste of
surprising is
my time,
you're not just some person off the street. You're a survivor of this shooting, and the point was to listen to you, to the survivors of the shooting. Were you surprised by the way they
Absolutely.
behaved?
I mean, honestly, it was very shocking to me, because we just went through such a horrific tragedy. For them to take that and now make such a big news cast over what they want to hear, it was very upsetting to me.
It's shocking to us too, trust me, in the actual journalism business. Colton, thank you. Thank you for telling us that. It's really interesting.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Godspeed.
So there, guys, you actually hear it from his own mouth what he claims is actually happening. And it's starting to line up a little bit with what CNN is now claiming. They're saying, hey, we didn't give out scripted questions. He just wanted to give an extensive speech, and that's not what the forum was designed for. Okay. So what happened after that? Oh, he just withdrew magically. Really? Okay, sure. Interesting. But interesting thing enough is second accuser, Parkland student's father, says CNN only interested in certain narrative. How many more people are going to have to come forward before CNN actually admits they've done something wrong in this? Like, we get it. CNN, you're left wing, you're alt-left even. We fully know this. It's not a secret. At the end of the day, you're... Anyway, moving along. A second accuser has come forward, and yes, we have the video on that as well, with credible allegations that CNN is only interested in interviewing those willing to espouse a certain narrative in favor of gun control. Although I believe he actually says in the video, he actually talks about a certain policy. He doesn't say gun control, although he does surmise that's what they're actually talking about. And since then, we've had nothing but gun control written in the media. So it's a pretty safe bet. But just to clarify, he says in the video, he says a certain narrative. On Thursday night, Fox News' Laura Ingraham spoke with Andrew Calvin, the father of one of the students who survived last week's shooting massacre in Parkland, Florida. Ingraham pointed out accurately that CNN's widely criticised Wednesday night town hall event was one-sided. Yeah, anybody can see that. The questions were all anti-gun. They all opposed the NRA and launched venomous personal attacks against Senator Marco Rubio and NRA spokeswoman Dana Loschitz. Might be mispronouncing, but you get the idea. Jake Tapper, the anti-Trump / anti-gun pundit who moderated the spectacle, also had an audience of thousands who will appear to be rapidly anti-gun, going as far as to boo a rape victim as Tapper remains silent. Tapper has yet to disavow his audience behaviour or apologise to the rape survivor. Callan informed Ingraham that his experience with the anti-gun cable channel was similar to that of Colton Haab, the school shooting survivor and JROTC member, being hailed as a hero for leading his fellow students to safety during the massacre. Halep has credibly claimed, well, look, I like the guy and everything, but credibility claimed is a little bit much. He's claimed, okay, we still don't know for 100% sure. Yes, I'm intending to agree with him, but he's claimed anyway that he dropped out of the town hall event after CNN demanded he read one of their scripted questions. Halep wanted to ask about school security. On 3 separate occasions now, CNN has publicly called Haab a liar. Callan said of CNN's one-sided town hall, Laura, that's not surprising at all. I actually spoke to a CNN producer on Thursday, the day after the shooting. He said, adding, the producer insinuated to me that they were looking for people who were willing to espouse a certain narrative, which was taking the tragedy and turning it into a publicity debate. And I read that as being gun control debate. When Ingraham specified what the CNN producer said, Cullen reported, the producer said that we are looking for people who want to talk about the policy implications about what happened in terms of, she didn't mention guns, the policy implication for preventing mass shootings. And since then they've been talking anti-guns, so you can probably put 2 and 2 together on that. Cullen and Haab's accusations are seen by many as credible due to CNN's previous scandals. On numerous occasions, the Last Place network has been caught using left-wing plants. The far-left CNN is also facing credibility crisis due to multiple fake news reports, only some of which have been retracted or corrected.
Ariana, what's your reaction to that? That the CNN denies this, by the way, but they have a history of planting questions that Michelle Malkin and others have written about before in other events. But Colton Haab, who gave that interview, he was emphatic about his point.
Yes. Well, I think the whole point of the town hall meeting was to hear the kids and hear what we had to say. And for that to happen is inexcusable. Our voices need to be heard, and he should have been able to ask any question he had to ask. But instead, we have these networks that don't want us to give our real opinions, and they want us to further their own agendas.
Andrew, it seemed like
Laura,
most of the students, Andrew, had the same opinion on what to do, namely to ban certain weapons, to trash the NRA, to be really disrespectful to Marco Rubio, and nasty things being said to Dana Lash, who was there. But they all seemed to be pretty much in agreement, as far as I could tell. There was no diversity of opinion among either the students or anyone else that I saw, even in the audience.
And Laura, that's not surprising at all. I actually spoke to a CNN producer on Thursday, the day after the shooting, and the producer insinuated to me they were looking for people who were willing to espouse a certain narrative, which was taking the tragedy and turning it into a policy debate, and I read that as being a gun control debate. And unfortunately, I think a lot of the people talking about gun control don't understand what they're talking about, because I'm a Republican, I'm a gun owner, I'm a responsible gun owner. And when we talk about gun control, it's not about taking guns away from people like me. It's about keeping them out of the hands of the people who should not have them, who are irresponsible, who are a threat to society. And when, last night when Ted Deutsch kept repeating his mantra that he wants to eliminate any gun that can fire 150 rounds in 6 minutes, that's almost every gun that's out there. So this supposed assault weapons ban, these other items they're talking about, aren't going to accomplish anything, along those lines. So I agree we need to make some headway. We need to raise the age to buy a rifle. I agree with the president on that. But beyond that, a lot of these folks who are yelling gun control, really don't have a great grasp on what they're talking about.
So, Andrew, let me just get this straight. So the CNN producer who called you right after the shooting said specifically what about the way they wanted to produce interviews and so forth?
Well, as I recall, the producer said, we're looking for people who want to talk about the policy implications about what happened in terms of, she didn't mention guns, but, in terms of the policy implications for preventing future mass shootings. And if you know folks who want to talk about that, we'd like to speak to those people.
Very interesting. Ariana and
Yes.
Mr. Klein, thank you so much for joining us. Our prayers continue to be with the people of Parkland, and you guys are incredible. You were amazing yesterday. Thank you so much.
So guys, at the end of the day, what's my thought on all this? I'm going to wrap it up very quickly because this video is going way too long as it is already. Do I think that they've gone through and used plants or scripted questions and tried to push an agenda? Hell yeah, it's CNN. Anybody in doubt? Yeah, I actually believe this guy and the junior ROTC guy more than I would believe CNN. Maybe that's me being biased, I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's definitely looking like that this is actually a credible report. Like I said, I'm not ready to call it credible 100% just yet. But I'm definitely leaning in that directions. Guys, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Do you think that CNN uses scripted questions? Do you think CNN is pushing an agenda? Do you think CNN is fake news? Let me know what your thoughts are in that comment section below. If this video has been helpful, please smack a like. If you're new, channel welcome and subscribe. Apart from that, guys, I'll see you in the next demonetized video from YouTube. Have a great day and enjoy.